straight to the top of the charts. Go straight to the top of the charts. From 10 to 1, you got a show number 1 when you go straight to the top of the charts. Top of the charts, top of the charts. That song's gonna climb to the top. When you go straight to the top of the charts. When you go straight to the top of the charts. When you go straight to the top, right to the top. When you go straight to the top of the charts. Hi everyone, it's Plasky P here from Melbourne, Australia. I've got the fabulous Sabine coming in from London, and I've got Donald Andrew from the Remo 4. How are you today, Don?
I'm good. Call me Don, not Donald. That's just the phone that's calling me Donald.
Okay, I'm going to call you Don, but let me tell you something. Cool. You know the Remo 4, I've got to say. You've got to go back now to 1964. I know you guys started in 1958, but listen, what was it like being there with the Beatles? And tell me the story of how Brian Epstein signed your group, to the Brian Epstein stable of stars.
How long have you got?
Don't worry, just tell us what you want to tell us.
I'll do it quick. I was at school with Colin, our lead guitarist, and we formed a group on the last day of term. You know, we started the same day as George and Paul brought their guitars in, and they started as the Beatles. But we began playing in clubs and weddings and whatever straight away from school, and we got a residency on the Cavern in 1960, and the Beatles weren't around that time. They went to Germany and played in the Star Club first and made a big name for themselves. And when they came back to Liverpool, it was a big night, a big crowd to see this group from Germany. And we were in the dressing room ready to go on stage, and they walked in their leather jackets and jeans and cowboy boots, long hair. And I said, "Paul, is that you?" I didn't recognize them. I didn't know it was Paul from school.
Yeah, that's right. You were classmates. You and Colin were classmates of Paul McCartney at the Liverpool Institute. People don't know that. What was he like at school?
He was a good lad. He wasn't naughty like George was. He didn't used to go behind the bike shed and smoke ciggies in the lunchtime like George did, because I was the prefect and I had to go and catch him. But Paul was good, and he was a good artist. And I used to go to the art club after school, and he used to go. And I was always jealous of his art was better than mine. But when we were playing at the Cavern and they arrived, they just exploded. They were the biggest thing immediately, and the place was jammed when they were on. But we still didn't realise that they were all from Liverpool. But we played with them on the Cavern many times. We usually went on immediately before them. So as we were getting ready to come off, we used to sign off with an instrumental of Peter Gunn, and we used to swing our guitars around, and we'd finish, they'd come on, and they'd immediately spoof us. They'd go, yeah, and pretend to be the Remo 4. But they were obviously the biggest thing, and the place just went wild for them, and nobody had ever heard a noise like they made. They were the loudest and beatiest group of everybody.
Did they ever play games with you before you went on stage? Did John come around and play the Mickey or do silly things to you guys, or play games, any of the Beatles, before you went on?
No. They used to make fun of us because we all wore smart suits and shirts and ties, and they were all scruffy leathers. But we got on fine with them. The only one who played games with us was Jerry Mars. And
what sort of games did he play?
Well, the worst he played, we were backing Tommy Quickly, who was very popular. He was real lively singer, and as he was finishing his spot immediately before Jerry and the Pacemakers, Jerry and Freddie, his brother, were in the wings of the stage. And as Tommy used to sing, when I'm walking with my baby, and he'd walk off the stage, like do false tabs. And as he got off the stage behind the curtain, they grabbed him and grabbed the microphone and wouldn't let him come back on. And we're still playing the backing, going, come on, come on. And he couldn't get on because they had the mic, and they pulled the wire out of the microphone. And he came on with the microphone and the wire, tossing it up. So it was a joke, but it wasn't funny at the time.
Now, Don, two main questions I've got to ask you before I pass you to Sabine. I've got to know, how did you get signed up by Brian Epstein, and how did you end up recording the song Tip of My Tongue, which is by Paul and John? How did that happen?
When the Beatles' first record was released, Love Me Do, we were in France. We'd gone to France to play on the American bases, and we turned professional in December, and we went out in January, and we were there for 6 months. But we were in the popularity poll, we were voted third after the Beatles and Jerry and the Pacemakers, then the Remo 4. So Brian Epstein wanted to sign us, but he couldn't till we came back from France. So when we came back, he called for us, and we went and signed a contract with him. And we immediately had to get proper suits, boots from Anello and David in London, or like the Beatles. We were kitted out as good as the Beatles. And we were on 4 national tours with them and with Jerry and Silla, PJ Proby and Gene Pitney. We backed Gene Pitney. But we never actually recorded Tip of My Tongue. That was session musicians on the backing. It says our name on the label, but it wasn't us.
Who was it?
No.
Okay, I'll hand you over to the fabulous Sabine.
Okay. Hi.
It's a real pleasure to have you on today. So I'm looking at your posters, your framed posters, and you've already mentioned Tommy, and I can see Silla on there. You have memories of Silla being at the Cavern at that time?
The Cavern poster, you mean?
Yes, it's right behind you. You have 2, but
Excuse
Tommy
me.
on there, and you've got Silla black at the top. PJ Proby, I think, is on there. No, that's the Cavern one. I'm talking about the one on your left, behind you. Yeah, it's got Tommy Quickly on there. Tommy
That's
Quickly.
it, the blue one. It's the blue one.
Yeah.
That's Silla and PJ Proby.
Yeah.
Tommy Quickly, the foremost. Sounds Incorporated, Brian Poole, and the Tremolos. That's unbelievable. What year was that?
That was 1964.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
And
so
the other
Don,
one from the Cavern, tell us about the other poster.
It's actually a newspaper ad that I blew up and framed, but it's where are we here?
No, that's great.
And it's a nice picture of the Fab Four there too, in the middle.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's a picture they signed for me and Linda, my wife, and they've all signed it.
That's unbelievable.
That's precious. That's really precious. I like that.
Thank you for sharing that, Don, with us.
That's brilliant. Don, I've been to the Cavern Club because I actually went up to Liverpool to perform with my rock choir, the Echo, and we spent a couple of evenings at the Cavern. And so there's a great feeling there. There's no doubt the spirit of the Cavern is so strong.
It's not the original Cavern, but the atmosphere is good.
Exactly. Well, we did talk to Debbie the other day. She came on and told us, all her memories and, her book. Debbie Greenberg.
Debbie Greenberg, yeah.
Yeah. So that was great. But I wanted to ask you, Don, do you still have, or does anyone still have the Hofner electric guitar from way back?
My Hofner or Paul's? My Hofner, no.
What happened to it?
I sold it to buy a Fender because we were the first band in Liverpool. I think we were the first band after the Shadows to all have Fender guitars. I got my Fender bass in 1960, and Colin got his Stratocaster, and Keith, our original guitar singer, he had a Fender Jazzmaster. So we were called Liverpool's Fender Men.
You mentioned that the image with your very sort of natty, neat suits, and the fact that the Beatles were looking quite scruffy, and they were all in leather, and there were you looking very, very tidy and immaculate. Where did you get your clothes from? Did you get them from Liverpool, or did you go down to London to Carnaby Street?
Before Brian signed us, we got our suits made in Chetwynd's, the tailors in Whitechapel, near to Rushworth and Draper, and they were made to measure. They were green silk suits we had first. Once we were with Brian and touring with the Beatles, we had suits made by Tony Bone in Luton, who made suits for the Beatles as well, and they were mohair, black mohair with silver collars, very similar to the Beatles, just but with a normal collar. And we had to go to the ballet shop called Anella and David.
Yes,
to get boots. The boots. I mean, like Beatles.
Yes, the Beatle boots.
When you were on tour with the Beatles, how wild were the girls? Was it girl crazy all the time, the fans?
Wild. Once we arrived at the theatre, because the tour lasted 30 nights, so it was 30 different towns. And when we arrived on the coach, the Beatles travelled separately in a Princess limousine with Mal Evans driving. So we arrived the whole rest of the show in the early afternoon. The girls were already there. We had to get our way through the crowd into the theatre, bring our equipment in. But once we were in, we couldn't get out then. We had to stay there until the second house of the show was over. So it might have been 11 o'clock or later. And all the time, the whole street was solid with screaming girls. The Beatles had to be sneaked out somehow. They'd get out a side entrance or whatever into their car and away. And then we get out on the coach.
How did the Beatles get into the theatre? How did they get in? Did they come in before the crowds?
Yeah, they'd get in early. And then they'd be in their dressing room and people would bring them food and drink, and they wouldn't get out then till the end of the second show.
Can you tell me, Don, were you ever on a bus with them, or did they ever give you a lift in the Austin Princess? Did they ever do anything for you?
I used to travel in the equipment van when they were on the way to a show. The driver would be not Mal. Mal would be driving a Commer van with their equipment in it, but the driver of the Princess would be Neil Aspinall. And occasionally I got a lift with Mal in the van with their gear and helped them carry it in, but they never went on the bus. But when we did the tour with them, the second on the bill, the support, was Mary Wells, who sang My Guy. She travelled on the bus with her hairdresser and her package, a few friends. They were on the bus with us. And we used to play hangman, and Mal Coop, the road manager, used to say, right, it's time for bus balancing. We had to stand up in the middle of the seats while the bus was driving round corners. That was a big game with him. But we never got the Beatles on the bus.
With the touring, as I said, because you and Colin went to school with Paul, I mean, that's really good because you got that friendship as well. How great was that?
Yeah. That was good. We always stayed friends with them. I'm still friends with Paul. Haven't seen him for 2 or 3 years, but me and my wife produced a video for him because we've been in the video business for the last 30, 40 years. And we produced a video for his School of Performing Arts. And we filmed in the school and around Liverpool and took the rushes, the rough version, down to his house, his farm at the mill in near Hastings. He had a studio in the base of a windmill. We've been to several events at the school, which is called LIPA, the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts. And we've been there and met him there, and I've got pictures taken with him there. But we were very sorry to lose George and obviously John. Ringo's still around, but I haven't seen him for a long time.
Were you actually on the bus when Helen Shapiro came on the bus on a tour?
No, that was the tour before the tour we did.
Did you know Helen Shapiro?
No. I love her music and her voice, but we didn't meet her.
Yeah.
On that tour, on this poster, we were Silla's backing group, and we backed Gene Pitney as well.
Oh, wonderful!
That's great, and also you're on a lot of records by other artists that they released.
Yeah, we backed our original singer Johnny Sandon, who left the Searchers to join us in 1962 when we turned pro. But he wasn't really popular. We made about 4 records with him, and he used to sing like Benny King, but he wasn't very popular. So Brian Epstein said we should go on our own, just the 4 of us, which we did. But then we backed Tommy Quickly and made, I think, 4 records with him. And we also backed Gregory Phillips, who was sort of a teenage star on kids' TV. And he made 2 records, and we made some on our own.
Don, do you you must have, well, obviously have memories of Jerry Marsden. When was the last time you saw him? Did you have any kind of reunion, with any of the Mersey guys? Or
we saw Jerry often. We were quite close friends with him, and we did charity shows with him. We formed, Linda and I helped to form Mersey Cats, which was a band of the original groups, and we played in the 90s for charity. And over a year or so, we raised over 29,000 £29,000 for Alder Hay Hospital. And Jerry was a member. He was like an honorary member of the group, of the society, but he came to present the check to the lady from Alder Hay on a ferry across the Mersey, and that was a good event. We've got pictures of that.
You know something, Don? You are a legend. Liverpool loves you. The world loves you. The Remo 4 Right is one of the greatest groups. We loved having you on the show. Go straight to the top of the charts. And Plastic EP and the fantastic, sensational Sabine, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for this interview. And I got to tell you, I've watched all the film clips on YouTube, you playing the bass. I mean, what a band. Even with the organ, it was just fantastic. Your era was the greatest. You are a music legend.
Thank you.